Okay, we're live. Well, welcome everybody. I'm RJ the Nerdy Brew, and here on this channel we talk TV, movies, and everything in between, all while drinking a cup of coffee. Now, if you like one of those things or all of those things, why don't you consider like, subscribing, and hit that notification bell, and becoming a fellow Brewster. So today, fellow Brewsters, we are just shooting the crap. Shooting craps, snake eyes, baby. I think that's bad, right? I don't play craps. I wouldn't know. But yeah, I'm just sitting around, talking, doing this live. I don't utilize it. I don't make it such a thing. Inside of me trying to be part of this YouTube space. For me personally, there's a glare, so I'm trying to keep my head down. But for me personally, it's kind of off-putting. Just being caught in the moment. I don't know what could happen, and being exposed, full of transparency, is necessarily not easy. Um, because my life, my entire life, I've been a private person, and there's certain things in nerdom, I should say, is an aspect of myself that I don't have a problem sharing, or even being in a place of having a community of like-minded individuals to say, I like nerdum too. Like, I like superhero films, I like sci-fi films, I like fantasy, I like a good dialogue. I like good narrative. All of these particular aspects that craft to make a good genre and a good medium, and I just enjoy that. That's always been who I am, like internally in my core, of just appreciating surreal storytelling. Um, and honestly, we live with reality day after day of some people have extravagant things, and extravagant is relative, you know what I mean, but all in all, for intents and purposes, there's certain things that are mundane. um you get up, and you have a certain routine of making it through the day to have certain individual daily successes, and just to have a moment of escapism, whether that being a good show to binge, a good comic book to read, a good book to read, or even self improvement and self development. I don't think that's a bad thing to try to navigate away from, or to shy away from. So I definitely enjoy uh, doing that. Going through some comics and looking at other people's artwork, just to see the skill and the talent that they have. It's always impressive. And then not only that, um, yeah, just these worlds, these captivating stories. Um, but it's always better when the story's good, because when the story is not good, it definitely puts it in a place of wasting your time. So then that kind of devalues and diminishes the point of your entertainment and escapism. But definitely, all in all, um, that's what I like to do. Being a part of that. Um, but yeah, when it comes to anime and all of these things that are like fantastical, um, I just like doing it. And yeah, and as I said, man, this is hard for myself, um, to be open and ready and exposed. And I know how fast YouTube is. And being so fast with YouTube, you gotta have the quick edits. You gotta get to the point. You got to have this visual fast imagery, and it's supposed to captivate the person. But for me, I'm very thoughtful. I'm a very thoughtful individual, and I'm very slow when it comes to my words and whatnot. So that That's what that's where we're at. That's where we're at. But before we move forward, and I got that introduction out the way, ranting. But I'm gonna be ranting for a little while, and I don't feel like that's necessarily a problem. But I do want to talk about. Um, Excuse me, I lost my train of thought. But self love, right? I think self love is very important. And I think it's a variety of aspects going into self love. Um, when it starts with self improvement and self development, and nothing comes fast. There is a documentary with the late actress of Eartha Kitt, and in that documentary, there's a clip. There's a clip you can find it on it. You can find it online. But by the interviewer asked about compromising in a relationship, and she laughs from the belly. Compromise, right? She says it so hard. And she's like, why would I compromise? When I'm paraphrasing, but she's basically saying that she has to love her. She has to not just love her, she has to yeah, she has to love her. And what that's involved in loving her. And then with her loving her, it just goes into a place of the person that she chooses to be with will also share that love as well. And so, with me saying that, there might be a lot of different aspects of things that we're insecure about, things that we're still trying to work on, and personal development, and be hurt. And it could be a multitude of things. And I wouldn't know. I don't walk everybody's life, but there could be certain things that weigh on our mind and weigh on our. I got hand gestures. There's certain things that weigh on our mind and weigh on our heart that there could be a void there. There could be something that makes us feel incomplete. So I feel like it's very important on certain aspects of like personal development. Um, and when it comes to personal development, it's just certain things that you want to work on, and that will reinforce your self esteem and self assurance. And the right person will value that because there's so many different personalities in this world, and you could attract a toxic personality. Um, and they might have 85% of what you're looking for in an individual. But that other 15 is something that is disparaging. And I think that is so important for you to find yourself in a place of saying, I value myself enough to walk away from the situation. And all of the other things, you might not be where you want to be, but you can start working on where you want to go. And there's things like Will Smith said that I think he learned it from his father. And I didn't get a chance to read his book yet. Um, uh, Mr. Will Slap, Mr. Will Slap. But I feel like with Will Smith, I think he got himself in a place where he said that he couldn't lay. No, he said something about not trying to lay no lay just one brick perfectly. So if you take that into trying to build a house, build a foundation, build an aspect of yourself, it's laying one brick perfectly. And when you lay that one brick perfectly, when you dealing with the concrete, you lay the concrete, you use the tool, you slide out the cement, and you place the brick how it needs to be. so all the other bricks could fit in place. And so when you apply that, it doesn't have to be a row of bricks to lay down. You just lay one brick down perfectly, and that could change and build upon who you're trying to be and where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do. And yeah, that's something that I really personally believe upon. But that was my opening words of encouragement that I wanted to give everybody. Um, I want to know, can you hear me? Okay, press F in the chat. F in the chat. I don't know. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Okay. Um. Anywho, back to it. Back to it. Um. Yeah, because I got this microphone in, but I don't know how well that's capturing everything because I'm looking at the dot, and on the dot, like of modulation, um, I don't. It's not moving how I think it should move. How it was working earlier, but anywho, we'll keep moving forward. We'll figure it out. I'll just keep at it and keep going. But yeah, now we have the whole news about Star Wars getting this new trilogy. And we got this new trilogy that they announced with Rey Skywalker. And I personally feel like that's definitely like a disservice to Disney and the fans. I don't know. I'll say A1 day ones because you got a lot of sequel defenders. You got a lot of sequel lovers. And to me, I'm not one of them. I'm not a sequel lover. I left the review up, and it's not even out of retrospect. I liked episode 7. I thought episode 7, even though it was a retelling of A New Hope with just gender swapped protagonists, I honestly felt that um, the rest of the trilogy was incohesive and it derailed the purpose of a sequel trilogy. So with it being, its own purpose of the sequel trilogy, yeah, I just uh felt like that was just a major problem. And then it's like the Force Awakens after what 10 years, because when episode 3 ended, right? And then we're finishing, excuse me, we're finishing Luke Skywalker. And that ended in what, like 80, 86, 83? It ended in the mid 80s. So when you have that ending in the mid 80s of Return of the Jedi, and then I'm the demographic for the prequel era, and so I enjoyed myself with the prequels. And so after that and everything, because that was new and more Star Wars. So I loved the OG trilogy or the original trilogy. I loved it. That was my whole childhood. And then I said it in Couch God's video. Um, that I was listening to the cassette tapes and I was reading the expanded universe. And so we're dealing with the expanded universe and whatnot. And that was my medium of Star Wars. And rewatching the original trilogy. Making up my own stories in my head. So when the prequels came out, to me it was like more Star Wars. And they developed more Star Wars. There was so much of the Clone Wars. I mean, they yes, even in the later 2000s, there was the Old Republic, and they built on that lore. And that lore, as I said, they started building out the expanded universe. So we had Kyle Katarn come through. and Dash Rendar, Shadows of the Empire. I can't remember, but the leader of the Black Suns, who was involved with Darth Vader, um, and heir to the Empire. I can't remember the clone Jedi's name, but he was the Dark Jedi that Thrawn used. Um, and Thrawn, as I said, was a wonderful tactician. Always 10 steps ahead. And he wanted to be the new emperor, and it was amazing. It was amazing. So that was my world of Star Wars, of just the expanded Legends universe, in those mediums of video games and books. So anything is visual media, of a narrative and storytelling, with live action, that wasn't a thing for me. So the prequels, and then in adding in the Clone Wars, um, that unexplored time period made it so, like awe-inspiring and eye-opening, and I couldn't get enough of it. So when it comes to Disney Star Wars, and they're saying that it was done, it was done. Um, what was it? It was Revenge of the Sith was the closing of the book, and with that being the closing of the book and it being done, it just really made me feel. I mean, I was still taking in whatever other media, that comic books or whatever else, so I could still be involved. There was Purge. There was Purge from Dark Horse. It was 4 stories about Darth Vader, and it was right after episode 3, and he was going around killing the remaining Jedi. And that was what I was reading before the Inquisition, before it got bought out, before Lucasfilm and got sold to Disney. I was definitely reading Purge, and I recommend it. It was from Dark Horse Comics. Loved it. But with that being said, with The Force Awakens, and The Force Awakens is the same height. Like, everybody was thinking that it was done. We're all thinking, nah, George Lucas is not going to build or make anything anymore. He said he was done. Those 6 stories was Anakin stories, nothing else. But he did tell Luke, back in the 80s, or Mark Hamill, excuse me. He told Mark Hamill back in the 80s, be like 20, what do you say, 2012? 2012, the clip is out there on the internet, but he said, yeah, in 2012, that the that it would be Luke training a new set of kids. But all of that information came out in, what was it, the expanded universe. He had a child, Ben, and there was the twins, from Leia and Han, and then they had Anakin, their third youngest child. And one thing that they incorporated, besides bringing back Thrawn, they also brought, Ezra, who was in Rebels, the ability to speak with animals, with the Force. And I think they did that in episode 2, but I can't remember which Skywalker child it was, but it was one of them. It was either Ben or Anakin, but in one of the books, they were stranded on a planet with hostile animals, and he was able to control it with the Force, and that was like the first time that was introduced. So when they brought that kind of Legends, attributes into canon, when it came to Star Wars Rebels, I thought it was great. But yeah, but back to 2015, when it ended up being 2015 of Ray, um, it just made it really odd. No, not odd, but everybody was in excitement. Everybody was like, "Yo, 10 years later, more Star Wars stories." Disney has a great name, right? There was all the Disney classics, the animated classics that everybody grew up on, and then there was just, Disney just has a name, um, at the time, of just reputable and crowd pleasing movies. So, and then George Lucas is like, yo, Kathy is my friend. He is like, yo, they smile in your face all the time. Want to take your place, some backstabbers, backstabbers. And so it's like they get to a place of selling it, and he was like, "Man, I got these employees. I got these employees. Star Wars is not doing what it's supposed to do. I'm going to do this acquisition, and sell it off." And everybody bought into the hype. They're like, "Oh snap, BB-8, BB-8 for a new generation, a new droid, for a new generation. Oh snap, there's a black stormtrooper. A black stormtrooper. Let's go, right? Is he a Jedi? This black man is going to be a Jedi. Shout out to Samuel L. Jackson. It's not a problem. There was a lot of racists who were mad about it, but the only reason why the majority of the staff was white in the OG Star Wars because they were filming in the UK. They were filming in a predict. I can't say the word. A prominent and particular area, and in that area, that's where they were, where a lot of Anglo-British men were available. But Star Wars is a world full of aliens. Why wouldn't it be a world full of black people as well? So that's just crazy that people were just mad about that. But anywho, back to what I was saying about the hype. The hype for me too. Everybody was hyped. Like, yo, and then they had the trailer of just the cloaked dark figure in the woods ended up being Kylo Ren, but he just whips out the lightsaber, and you're like, oh my god, it has awakened. Have you felt it? You hear Snoke or Andy Serkis in the background. It was just an amazing time. If you go back, if you check my playlist when I first had the original channel, it was RJ's R&R reviews and reactions. Um, Back then, you can go back to that playlist and you can see that I have my Force Awakens reaction. Um, Totally authentic and totally caught up in the hype. And me being just like caught up in that hype, it just really made me feel like, um, yeah, Star Wars is simply implemented itself as something to be forever forever cemented in history, which it is, but that was a revitalization. And then, and then like I don't have a problem with what was the director's name? J.J. Abrams, because once again I was the demographic. I was the demographic. I enjoyed the two Star Trek movies that he did. I did not. I'm gonna say this. I was raised on Star Trek, Captain Kirk, Captain Picard. My mother watched those shows, but I was never a fan. I just felt like they were always on the ship. Not Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk back in the '60s was always going on adventures and fighting and being swashbuckling and kissing women and all of that. But it was in the '60s. It was in the '60s that just wasn't my stilo at the time. And then Captain Picard, which was during my time, that was just on the ship chilling. It was on the ship chilling. And I guess I have to rewatch it for myself, and because I'm at a certain age now, and I have certain sensibilities now that it might appeal to me, but at the time, I don't think it ever would. And so when J.J. Abrams took over Star Trek, when he took over Star Trek, I like both of those movies. I know that there's true Trekkies. Are they called Trekkies or Trekkers? I'm not involved in that community as much, but new Star Trek. I'm gonna tell you. I do like Discovery. I do like what is it? There was one of them of the shows that I did not like. That's on Paramount. I can't remember which one. No, I did not like Picard. I felt season one was so bad. So that threw me off of watching it. But I do like Discovery. I do understand the criticisms about um the actress name. Well, can't remember, but the character of Michael Burnham, I don't have a problem with Michael Burnham. And there was yeah, there's Strange New Worlds. I love Strange New Worlds. But back to J.J. Abrams, the new Star Trek movies, that is my stilo. That is my stilo. It's like right up my alley. I don't have no problem with the new Star Trek. So when it was announced that he was going to take over Star Wars, and I loved his Mission Impossible 3 as well. Um, but when they said that he was gonna, I was like, yes, yes, he's in it's in the right hands. It's in the right hands to move forward. And so when the hype of 2015 and everything about this new Star Wars movie, and there was things that I liked about it. Um, and yeah, I got my review up. If you ever want to go back, if you ever want to go back to see what I thought, I like the movie. I like The Force Awakens. But then, the man who shall not be named, me and him share a name, but it's spelled differently. I'm not, I'm RJ. I'm RJ of the Nerdy Brew. RJ in these streets. I'm RJ in these streets, baby. Let's go. But the other man of Ryan Johnson of The Last Jedi, and him with his derailment of The Last Jedi and putting real world sensibilities. I mean, I'll say this: all stories are created for us to relate. And him, I felt like a force agenda. When you have this agenda, trying to be broadcast, what do we call it? Identity politics, and if not even identity politics, agenda driven, and then the derailment of our characters, um, and not building out the lore. Like, we're 30 years gone. We're 30 years. So what happened? And now they're doing it retrospectively, right? Within the Disney Plus shows. But in the sake of the movies, why are you not including the fall of Ben Skywalker? All right. Why are you not including the rise of the First Order? All right, we didn't see it in the first movie. Okay, so now we're expecting the second movie. And we didn't see, and like the first movie says Luke Skywalker has vanished right in the opening. And so it's saying Luke Skywalker has vanished right in the opening. And then it brings us to a place of, wait a minute. In the second movie, okay, we're going to see our hero that we haven't seen in all this time. And then Ryan Johnson wants to implement, Ryan with an I, wants to, his name is spelled stupid, wants to implement of never meet your heroes because they are bound to disappoint you. And as I said earlier in the stream, of like escapism in real life. Like, we're coming to a world where people can move things with their mind and their hands. There's laser swords and giant uh walking tanks. Why would I want to see the failure of my hero? And also, there is, and George Lucas implemented it in the storytelling of the hero's journey when it comes to literature. And have it being the hero's journey, it's like, my guy, my guy, like, you just threw that all away. And the whole parentage and not building up Snoke. Yeah, episode 8, The Last Jedi, definitely derailed all the momentum. And then it brought a war, an online war within the community of, we love The Last Jedi, we hate The Last Jedi. And it just goes on for years and years. And and then it went into a place of so much toxicity where people who are like, "Yo, we hate the Last Jedi," you're being called toxic. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, the people who love the Last Jedi were also being as toxic and saying, "Oh, we wish these people would die," and it just got really bad. And I do feel sorry for Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose. But as I said, the deconstruction of our character, and I liked Rose. I like Rose as being very dutiful in her role as a character inside of The Last Jedi. But when you get to a place of having her, diminish Finn, and the thing about Finn is one of our lead protagonists. He's a co-lead, and then all you did was cut him and you diminish his melanin. And of course, he had a prominent story, but it was nothing of substance. Prominent means it was a lot. It was a lot of quality. No, it was a lot of quantity and not quality. And I just felt like that was a disservice to Finn. And with it being a disservice to Finn and as a derailment, there was Poe Dameron, and Poe Dameron was being belittled, um, and his decisions weren't being taken seriously, and it was just so forsage of the agenda that was involved in the Last Jedi. And then you got the Rise of Skywalker, and with it being the Rise of Skywalker, it was trying to make up for the mistakes that happened inside of the Last Jedi. And when you have that, it was fumbling and trying to pick up what it fumbled. And having Luke come back, Force Ghost Luke, and he's like, "You gotta treat the Jedi weapon better," and it's like a dig at the Last Jedi movie when he just tosses his away, and then you have Ray. Let me get to Ray. This is the point. Out of all of this time of me talking, I'm talking about Ray. So when it comes to Ray, she was floating, and at the end of the Last Jedi, she lifted the rocks, and I think the movies take place 48 hours apart, maybe 72 hours a week at the most, and you're like, Luke didn't have that much training. Yo, between the movies, he was always training, and which were also a long time period. And he went to struggle of lifting up a lightsaber in the Empire Strike Back. He was struggling lifting up a lightsaber in his second movie. So why would you put this chick in the second movie to lift up a ton of boulders? Like that doesn't make any kind of sense. Um, and then she came in serendipitously, synchronicity, and coincidentally at the right time to go save everybody. She went in and go save everybody, and I feel like that was like, why would you put that in there? That didn't make any sense of the story. And then at the end of the Last Jedi, you kill Luke. But I'm going back to what I was saying. After all of the problems that was in the sequel trilogy, uh, Star Wars wanted to go and announce that Ray is going to have this sequel. And it's like, wait a minute. Didn't the last movie make less than your first movie to start the franchise? And you want to bring people back to that? And I guess there's new announcements, other stories. I think Dave Filoni is making a movie that culminates all the shows that are on Disney Plus about this particular time period of after Return of the Jedi with all those characters. That's pretty cool and exciting to see. He had his hands in the pot the entire time of developing the live action. There's James Mangold, and James Mangold, who did the Wolverine, he's a fantastic director. I don't know what project he's working on, but it's never a bad idea to hire talent. And then you have I didn't like Miss Marvel. Actually, it was a little fun, but it got boring by the end. But the director or the showrunner of that show is becoming the director of the Ray movies. But it's like you why are you promoting uh a failed product? Like you're not even rebranding it and calling it something different like they did with the Obi-Wan show. What they did with the Obi-Wan show. Obi-Wan was rebranded for Reva. And Reva was a horrible character as well. But talking about Disney Star Wars is a whole nother video in itself that I can go on and on about. But I'm just feeling like it's a bad idea, excuse me, for you to announce Ray. Um, and it says what, 15 years? Announcing Ray 15 years after Return of the Jedi. I mean, after the Rise of Skywalker. And so check this out. I do have in the description. No, not in the description. I don't. But you can find it any other video on my channel that I have wrote in episode 9 before episode 8 came out. It took me 2 years, and I did not go back and write the second one. But I wrote a 4 year time jump between The Last Jedi to what I wrote so that she would be able to have an establishment of trying to start the Jedi Order. And it would be a culmination of what we've seen on screen already. So I wouldn't be, so the story is not writing away what happened. And we have a lot of new updated technology. So I'm going to try to make it like a visual story to put up on the channel, but if you want to, get first basis of reading what I wrote for my episode 9, it is fan fiction, but I did my best to try to incorporate the elements of the new sequel um, and trying to conclude it with all the lore that we already have as a satisfying conclusion. And I just really feel bad that they decided to do this 15 years later when it comes to Ray. And Ray is a horrible character well in itself. Like she has a lack of character development. She shows up and they string along like who she is, not knowing who she's gonna be. And she's not a well liked character like Luke. She's not well liked as Han Solo, and like her backstory and her motivations were like underdeveloped. And it's like, why would you try to promote that as somebody? And I don't have a problem, honestly. Like, only I'll say this as a personality and as an actress. First Daisy Ridley, I don't have a problem with her, and I honestly don't have a problem with Ray Palpatine. I don't have a problem with Ray Palpatine. I have a problem with what they did with Ray Palpatine. I have a problem with how they wrote Ray Palpatine. Um, and they just underutilized the character for the character. They overpowered the character where the character can't live up to its best potential. Um, so it just became a nothing burger or an oversaturated burger. Ray Palpatine was an oversaturated burger. It's just too much lettuce, too much tomato, too much mayonnaise, mustard, relish. It was just too much of it. And then it makes it unedible. And guess what? This is alive, so that's not getting edited out. I stutter, but my words, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting my message across. I know exactly what I'm trying to say. But yeah, definitely with her, as I said, her power scaling and her just being so overpowered. And now it just sounds like I'm being like a woman hater, but it's not. It's just the characterization of the things that they did to Ray. Why? Because she's a Palpatine? Why? No, the only reason why Palpatine was Palpatine because he was cunning. Palpatine was methodical, right? He was maniacal. Maniacal. He was maniacal. I finally said it. I got the word out. but he was that. That's what made him such a thing. Yes, he was more powerful than Vader, but Anakin was the chosen one, right? And he was able to pass his metachlorian count to his children. And I know that I'm talking about like I'm a nerd and this is information in the books, but even just logically, and with him being physically damaged, emotional damage. All right, joking, but him being damaged, that dampened his connection with the Force. So with that dampening his connection with the Force, um, surely he's angry and he's very powerful. He's a threat. He was Darth Vader, but no, he couldn't be as powerful as the Emperor at the time. But that doesn't make Ray Palpatine to be as powerful, and it was very unrealistic in this fictionalized world. And then there's the lack of explanation of her parentage. It was a clone of Palpatine. And then at the time, they tried to explain it like he had his son. And then it's like, yo, who is breeding with this old rag? Like literally, like who's breeding with this old rag? And they don't have to. There's semination in this world. But it was like, yo, that junk was wild for them to even explain it. And the actor doesn't even look like Ian McKellen, who's the actor who played Palpatine. So it just made me really think, like, if you got all of these issues, all of these problems, with this one character of Ray, and not planning out her story and having all of these issues leading up in the culmination of who she is, then why would you go back and try to promote that again? And like she was tonally inconsistent and all of that. But as I said, if you want to make sense of what she is and have her be in a different place, read my episode 9. It is down. Actually, you could check any video. I probably won't have it in this live stream, but it'll be down in descriptions. I put it in every video that you can read my episode 9, but I do plan on editing it and making it like audio visual kind of situation here on YouTube. But if you want to read it first, you can go ahead and read it there. Um, but yeah, and then there was a lack of connection with the original trilogy. They didn't have no plan, and what they did with the OG just to say, "Oh, this is new," but I felt like it was very disrespectful, and we couldn't build on loving the new characters of Finn, Ray, and Poe. Um, I think that we could have had a better establishment um, of a connection with them in the first movie. Um, Reintroducing what the world is, the politics, how the First Order rise. That should have been in the first movie. The consequences of the First Order rising should have been in the second movie. Passing of the torch should have been in the second movie, and a fully like moving forward and a conclusion that was comprehensive should have been in the third movie. Um, but they didn't do that, and they did not contact me. They did not contact me for that to happen. I'm not trying to make this stream too long, but yeah, making this stream too long, but yeah, definitely. Uh, I don't understand why they're gonna deal with Ray. I don't know why they're gonna deal with Ray Skywalker, Ray Palpatine, and promote her once again. And then after her being overpowered, um, what are they gonna do? And then like I've read the comics and I've read the Knights of Ren comics about Kylo Ren. Oh yeah, it's called The Rise of Kylo. And the Knights of Ren were a particular group of dark force users. And now that you got rid of them, what's the story gonna look like? Well, what's the story gonna look like? Are we gonna have more aliens coming from the unknown regions? Um, like what is her story with these new Jedi? And are we gonna deal with Broom Boy? And I did put Broom Boy in my episode 9, but he has a purpose, and I gave him a name too. I gave him a name as well. But yeah, that was a thing. And then want to move forward so anybody could go back and watch the replay. Uh, I had my spiel about this new Star Wars stuff. The Mandalorian is going to be a whole different chat. Disney Star Wars on TV will be a whole different chat when I talk about these things. And I also did this for fun um, of coming up here. As I said, like when I started this, my vulnerability, the transparency. This is my second time doing it. The first time was a test, and I was testing out my camera, and I do like my camera very much. But I was testing it out, and people ended up catching me on here, so I did that live. I tried it this morning. We'll come to find out nobody was watching. Like nobody's watching now, but it's okay. It's okay. This is the first one, and we'll get it over time. And after we get it over time, um, we're gonna have this replay up. So if you want to see what I was talking about and want to be involved or whatever the case may be, here we are. Here we are. We're in this journey together. But yeah, I want to talk about Shazam 2 transition. Well, that was pretty crazy, right? But yeah, excuse me, Shazam 2. I watched it last night. Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods. And the thing about Shazam 2 and the Fury of the Gods is definitely, I don't feel like, first of all, this is not a review. I'm not going to give a review of the movie. But I will say that I feel bad that it didn't make its money. I feel bad that I ended up watching it at home because, the movie had a lot of good things going about it. Um, but the movie is also formulaic. The movie is definitely formulaic, where it has its story beats that are very predictable, and also is the movie. Yo, what's up, fam? But the movie is very. I'm talking about Shazam 2, and as I was saying, yeah, the movie was very paint by numbers. Can y'all hear me? Okay. I'm using a mic, but my little dot in the mic isn't going up as much as I need it to. So if y'all can hear me, thank you, boo. Appreciate you, uh, Honey Clark. But yeah, oh, it's not real loud. Let me try this out because I've been talking for a while. Yeah, welcome to the Midnight Brew. We're here with the Midnight Brew. Get ready to be sultry on the Midnight Brew. All right. How about that? How about that? I don't think you're gonna be able to hear me now. Anywho, uh, working on it. Working on it. Now we just here. Oh, yeah, Couch God. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, bro. Yo, you should bring people to the stream. But I was talking about Shazam 2. And with Shazam 2, yeah, I'm gonna try to be very concise and try to finish this. Because I don't want to be here too long, and I'm not trying to force feed everybody with what I was talking about. But anywho, Shazam 2, back on track. I watched it last night. And with Shazam 2, as I said, the movie was very what up, Lindsay? Was very middle of the road and formulaic, as I say. The movie was paint by numbers, but I feel like the movie was very enjoyable. But what I would say about the movie that it was in a place where I think it's not superhero fatigue. I don't think people are tired of superheroes. I think if there is a good superhero, Couch God, why did you remove that? Yes, let it be us, bro. That's what they need to know. Anywho, let me not get distracted by that. I'm getting back on track with what I was saying. People aren't tired of superhero fatigue. They're not. If there's a good movie to come along, people are gonna jump on board and they're going to get caught in that, and it's gonna have a lot of fanfare if it ends up becoming a successful hit. But I think people are tired of the man child. Um, nah. I mean, you see it when you see it. I'm not about to spoil anything, bro. Um, but yeah, as I was saying, I think the man child is what people are tired of. You got Ant-Man, you got Thor, and then we'll get into the comparison of Thor, but who was it? Star Lord, um, and they're white. Nothing is wrong with these white characters, but it's a fact that like it's the same kind of analog again and again, um, of people who are seeing it like, oh, he's sarcastic, um, oh, he has a little bit of powers, he's white, he's a white dark haired individual. Haven't I seen this movie before? And then you don't have brand recognition. When you don't have your brand recognition, that ends up going to a place of not having the support of the audience. So it ended up just being middle of the road movie. I tried to say the word meandering. I couldn't get the word out. Meandering. It was just a meandering middle of the road film. And I think because it was a middle of the road film, it's not going to get the support from the audience that they wanted to have. And comparing to Thor, people were disappointed with Love and Thunder. Christian Bale had an amazing performance as Gore the God Butcher, but they neutered who that character is from the comics, and his performance was middle of the road as well. And I think that had to do with editing. But you got this dude who's a thunder god, and you got this other dude who got lightning abilities. They both got lightning abilities, making the same kind of jokes. And people felt and people felt that the movie um was not good. The movie wasn't good. So it's like, how can we go back out and go and support this film? And I don't think Shazam 2 is a bad movie. Not at all. Um, but the movie was in a place where that it didn't get the support, especially of The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He is the arch nemesis of this hero. Um, I'm talking to you, Lindsay and Denise. I know y'all don't read comics, so for you to know that, and Lindsay, that's Couch God. Couch God is also part of the channel, and yeah, he meant that. He meant that. The movie was complete cheeks, complete garbaggio, and I like Shazam, and I like The Rock. I like that. Um, and yeah, Black Adam was decent. Black Adam was decent. It wasn't that great. But if you got these two ancillary characters that nobody has support over, brand recognition, right? You can have the decal of Superman. People know who Superman is, right? You don't even have to like know his backstory. But just because he's an Americano icon, people are going to jump on board with that. And then also, you're talking about Black Adam sucking. With Black Adam sucking, there's not gonna be what is it? Word of mouth. It's not gonna be word of mouth for people to get on board to be like, yo, that movie was fire. Yo, that movie was good. And then it puts butts in seats to have the money to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And that just ends up bringing failure. And then it was a middle of the road movie as well. The movie was a middle of the road movie as well. And with the movie being a middle of the road film, as the villain, you missing out on being part of with this hero. And there's so many things like now y'all here and y'all supporting me. Y'all got me super nervous because I was talking to nobody for mad long and I was just running with it. I was just spitting words. But now y'all got me nervous. Now y'all got me nervous, man. Yeah, Hawkman was great. Hawkman was great. Um, as I said in my review, which is also on the channel, I said that Hawkman was a great 1B. I think he was a great 1B. Um, as The Rock having top billing, I don't feel like he was a lesser of a character. I think Aldous Hodge, he did a great job in his work. Being Hawkman, I felt like he was a very good co-lead. Um, yeah, I wasn't mad about Doctor Fate. Um, you pay for Pierce Bronson, you're gonna see Pierce Bronson. So we ended up seeing him, and I think that he was a great casting for Ken Nelson. But anywho, back to what I was saying about that movie, Shazam, and then Shazam had a lot of problems when it comes to the narrative. And the narrative of Shazam 2, was I said before, was definitely middle of the world, paint by numbers. You could definitely tell what it was. Um, and then another thing about the characterization, um, as I said about the man child, Shazam played that man child, Zachary Levi, the actor. He played that man child role um all the way up to 110. But in contrast, when it comes to the kid, Angel, Asher Angel, I think is the name of the young Billy Batson. He's like very like nuanced in what is it? He's very reserved. He's a very reserved kind of character. And so it's these two contrasts of this grown man who's acting like a child, and then you got this child acting like a grown man, and it's like how are these characters even meshing together? Um, and I think that's kind of off-putting for the audience. But I say this: Megan Good in that movie, Megan Good, she doesn't have a big role, but she played the aspect of being a kid superhero. She like kind of bodied it, and I felt like the movie was all over the place. The movie should have had like 15 minutes cut. Um, and I'm about to shut this live down, y'all, because we're getting into an hour, and I got kind of like more to say about Shazam 2, but I guess I started the conversation, and if anybody wants to come back to it, and then I got my peoples in the chat. My peoples in the chat came through mad late, but you know, better late than never. Came through to support. But yeah, welcome to the Midnight Brew. Here on the Midnight Brew, we talk about women, movies, and straight love making. Yeah, that's my DJ voice. But anywho, yeah, I'm going to bring this stream to an end. Thank you guys for coming and supporting. Uh I mean that a lot. And then when you watch the replay, I'm gonna be dropping a lot of bombs on y'all, for real, for real. I said some stuff. I said some really good stuff. But thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I'm gonna get ready for the week, and I hope you guys have a fantastic week. I'm working on a great video essay. I'll give you a preview. It's Black Men and Masculinity. Uh, no, not masculinity, mentality, mental health. Black men and mental health. So look out for that. Look out for that. But I'm gonna bring this to an end. Thank y'all for coming through. And I want you to be you, do you, see the bigger picture. Have a fantastic day because you deserve it. This is that channel. Peace.